many small shops, I don't have a forklift for removing materials or equipment from the back of my truck. I drive a Ford F-350 dually, which is taller than average pickup trucks, and I also have a topper on it, which I need for protecting my tools and equipment when I'm traveling. I've been using this engine hoist, which, needless to say, is not a great solution because it's rather flimsy and it can't reach in far enough into the truck to grab larger pieces. So today we're going to build a custom crane designed to lift things out of my truck and move them around the shop in a safe and efficient manner. Come along for the journey and let's make something together. Okay, so here we have our materials for our crane build. We've got a 3-ton hook that swivels so we can help position our magnets or our lifting straps. A 3-ton ram jack, which is almost identical to the ones you'll find on most engine lifts. 4 steel casters, each one rated at 1,200 pounds. We've got 4-inch by 3/16 square beam, 1/2-inch by 4-inch solid stock, and 2 5-foot pieces of S6 by 12.5 I-beam. And these are the basic components. We'll start cutting. I'll give you a material list at the end of the video showing you exactly the dimensions I use and the materials, so you can go ahead and imitate this build or modify it whichever way you like. All right, so now we're over here at the bandsaw. We're going to be cutting the base plates for our casters. These are 5 inches long, cut out of 4-inch by 1/2-inch stock. All right, we're going to need 3 more of those. Right at 5 inches. And I'll keep doing this until we've got all 4 cut. All right, so I went ahead and finished cutting these on the saw off camera. I cut the 4 pieces for our casters, which we'll be making those plates and threading them so we can just run the bolts right into them. Also, while I was there, I went ahead and I cut the 2 plates that will act to hold our hook in place. There's going to be a bolt going through there, so we'll be machining these as well. And then the 2 8-inch pieces are going to be for our pivot for the arm. So just figured I'd get them all cut at the same time. So we're only going to be dealing right now with the casters. We're going to go ahead and take one of the casters, set it on here, and more or less center it up. This is not mission critical in any way. And we're going to mark all 4 of the holes. This is a yellow mark all, so it'll be easy to see. We'll just go ahead and we'll center punch and get these set up. We'll drill them on the mill and then tap them. So we'll be back in a second to start all that. All right, so we've marked all 4 of these. We're going to go ahead and put a quick center punch on all of them. If your center punch is a little bit off of where you want it, you can reinsert your center punch at an angle and drive it over a little bit more to the center. So just because it's a little bit off, don't panic. All right, those all look good. I'm going to go ahead and do the other 3 panels and then we'll take it over to the mill. We'll drill and tap these holes in. We're going to be using 3/8 hardware to attach these casters, so we'll tap it for a 3/8/16. All right, I'll see you over at the mill. All right, so we're over here at the mill. We're going to go ahead and drill these holes. I'm just using my drill press vise because it's easier to slide around. We're drilling a 22/64 hole. All right, so I'm going to drill all 16 of these holes that we need. Then we'll go ahead and tap them, and we'll get back when we're over there getting ready to put these all together. Well, we're back over here at the mill, and we're going to be drilling the 3/4 inch holes for the larger bolts that are going to hang the hook, and also we're going to drill the 3/4 inch hole for the hinge plate. So we're using an annular cutter for this, which means we need to run at very low speed and low feed rates. So I've got the two plates here stacked together, and we're going to try to ease our way through this without breaking them. You know, annular cutters are great, they just take time. You just need to know how to use them. The first time I used when I burned it up and work hardened the metal right away, I was running a little bit too fast. Right now we've got 200 RPM and plenty of oil, and we should have no problem with this. Try to get off some of this metal here. Let's go ahead and turn it off for a second. Got a bit of a web going there. Let's go ahead and re-engage it. A little extra cutting oil since we're down here. It should be just about through. We're getting real close. I should be able to feel it before I strike the vise. There we go. Okay, I think I got that out nice and clean. Good. I'm going to go ahead and put the two 8-inch plates in here, do the same thing, and then we're going to trim these back to get a little bit of clearance, but we'll do that in a combination of things. We'll use the bandsaw as well as the belt grinder then to clean them up, and I'm going to show you a special jig that I use for that on the belt grinder. So let me drill the other ones out. We'll come back and continue our work. We're back with these plates now. We've drilled the 3/4 inch holes. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the corners with 45-degree cuts on the portaband here. After we remove these corners, we're going to go over to the belt grinder and use a special jig that I told you about, where we'll go ahead and then round over these corners to give a nice smooth transition to these plates. So let me go ahead and plug in the portaband, and we'll get these cut. All right, so that's done, and I'll meet you guys over at the belt grinder and show you how we set up this jig. So here's the jig that I was telling you about. I'm on my belt grinder, and it's a company called Ameribraid makes these, and they're wonderful and they're good value. We're going to put, since we have a 3/4 inch hole, we're going to put a 3/4 inch adapter here, and this will then act as our pivot point. And all we need to do is line up the jig to the point where we want it to make contact on the belt grinder. All right? So we could go in all the way flat, but I don't want to do that. I want to have a little bit more meat. So I'm going to take it till I'm just touching the corner, so that then I can work past that. And let me see here. There we go. That's what I want. We're going to put some small C-clamps to hold this to the table of the belt grinder. And we're ready to go ahead and grind these. So we pull this off. Let's turn the machine on. Let it come up to speed. Now we're going to go ahead and start grinding these down. I'm not going to make you sit through this whole process, so I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of this off camera, but I'll come back and I'll show you how we've got all their edges rounded over. All right, so there we have them. All of our plates are finished. We've got our plates for our casters, our hinge plates, and our hook plates. Next step is to start welding. So when we come back, we're going to be burning all these pieces of metal together. All right, we're back at the bandsaw now, and we're going to cut the vertical pipe that holds up the arm of the crane. And since I want my crane to be right around 5 feet tall, this arm, after I subtracted the height of the base and the casters, It's going to be 46 inches at the lower side of the angle cut. Now we're cutting this at 15 degrees so that it will tilt back, and we'll weld a brace to it to kind of shore up the crane to make it a little bit stronger. But we're going to go ahead and cut this now. All right, at this point now we've gone ahead and set up our frame, and what I have done is I have actually put my second beam, which will be going right here, all the way at the far end and clamped it into place so that this thing stays straight. So we're going to go ahead and start by tacking in this rear beam, and then we'll space the other one appropriately to where we want to be. And we'll go ahead and spot weld this one. All right, and that's secure. We'll weld the bottom half of this when we flip it over. But we'll go ahead now. I'm going to off camera reposition that other beam. And I've already determined that I want that beam to be 16 inches from the rear beam, so that when we put our vertical, which is cut at 15 degrees, our brace will come straight up and be directly over this rear point. All right, so I'll reposition that and then we'll come back for that welding.